Hello painters, I am Muto and welcome back to another update on this project, my very first Warhammer army. This week was quite strange. I started working on another unit and then I decided to change direction and work on the Ghouls instead. So I actually took a few extra days to post the video. I have had these models for a really long time, like most of my collection to be honest, but they always had a certain feel to me. They are simple, not too detailed, but they're just right. And as always, if you like to follow this project and build this army together with me, consider subscribing to the channel so you will not miss any update. But let's take a look at how I painted these ghouls. I started with a black primer as usual, followed by a magenta undercoat applied with an airbrush just to speed things up. And I could have done it with a brush as well, but this was simply faster. From there I tried two different approaches. On some of them I used an airbrush from above with a light grey, just enough to let the magenta show through. On the others I worked with a brush instead, building up the highlight step by step, starting with a 50-50 mix and then moving to a lighter grey. That way I could introduce a bit of variation across the unit. I know that the airbrush is faster, but I'm not really a big fan of it. I mostly use it for base coats or larger parts. I still prefer working with a brush. It just feels like I'm actually doing something with intention. For the flesh, I try to keep that old pinkish tone, that classic Games Workshop look. Then I went for black hands and feet, something I saw in a reference online. I really liked the effect, and I tried to recreate it as quickly as I could for the whole unit. The rest of the model came together pretty quickly. As usual, I went for a quick no metallic metal and added some red on the tongues and weapon handles, just to tie them back to the rest of the army. And in the end, I added some light highlights on the limbs, just to avoid leaving them completely black and flat. For this unit, I only had a couple of different variants, but painting just 9 or 10 models was pretty quick, especially with the help of the airbrush. As always, I leave the bases for the last. I still need to figure out to make them a bit more interesting, without spending too much time, and without completely changing the look of the model. Now that this second unit is finally done, and I have already started working on a couple of characters for the next episode, the army is starting to feel like it has its own identity. And even though it can be quite a demanding process, seeing the models together with shared color and that sense of belonging, it really makes you want to keep going. For the next week, I'm planning to paint a vampire and a Tom Banshee, and then dive straight into the zombies, which feel like they are going to be a lot of fun to work on. Trying to step away a bit from the technical side of painting, I had a moment to really think about what it means to paint an army. I know, it's still early. I'm not even halfway through my first one, but I'm not new to painting units. Still, focusing on a single project for this long made me realize something. I need to slow down, to take a step back, and stop trying to finish everything as quick as possible. Maybe take a break, doing something else. That's probably the best approach. If I don't feel like painting, I can just step away and come back to it later. And then will help breaking the work into smaller steps makes it much more easy to move forward, just little by little, getting closer to the final goal. So, for now, I'm just taking it one step at a time. No rush, no pressure, just enjoying the process. And if you like to follow along, consider subscribing. And I'll see you in the next update. Happy painting!